So why did you bring your mother, Anna, at our place without even asking me about it?
Because if she continues to live at that house, my mom would have no place for her and she would just suffocate.
How long are you planning to have Anna stay here at our place?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe until everything calms down, I guess.
I wanted to question my husband, Sam, further about what he meant when he said that. But more than that, I was just disappointed by how my husband was really overprotective about his own mother, or rather, how he acted like a mama's boy. My name is Tia, and I am 30 years old, working in a company. I married my husband, Sam, and it has been 3 years now since we got married. My husband and I do not have any kids yet at the moment, and both of us are working. I am better at doing most of the house chores than my husband, so I basically do all the cleaning and cooking around the house. But when there were days where I had to work overtime and had to work really late, my husband will cook very simple meals for me, and on weekends he would clean the shower, bath, and toilet. So I believe that we have a reasonably well-balanced life as a married couple. But recently, there has been a slight change in our everyday life. That is that my husband has been visiting his parents' place a lot more frequently than before. The reason for this is probably due to my husband's father, who had passed away about 6 months ago. My father-in-law, Jack, and my mother-in-law, Anna, used to live together in their house. But when Jack passed away and Anna was left all alone, my husband's brother, Cameron, and his wife, Susan, began living with Anna. But unfortunately, ever since they started living together, it seems that Anna, Cameron, and Susan are not getting along very well. So, my husband has been visiting over, going to their place to be their mediator, and standing in between them as they fight with each other frequently. At first, I think that both Cameron and Susan were doing reasonably well living together with Anna. Anna was really depressed at the time when Jack suddenly passed away and left her, and she definitely needed someone's support right away. Even I took some time out of my work schedule to visit Anna at her house to support her for a little while. But thanks to the efforts made by Cameron and Susan, Anna had gradually regained her health and became more positive. And I remember that we were all saying to each other how relieved we all were because of that. So, when Anna got much better, an unexpected incident struck Cameron and Susan. The incident involved Cameron and Susan's daughter, Sarah, who was a grandchild for Anna. Anna, who had regained her energy and health, began to strictly educate Cameron and Susan's daughter for some reason. Cameron and Susan's daughter was only 3 years old, but Anna keeps on strictly telling her things like, "You don't know how to hold the spoon properly," or yelling, "You better eat all the vegetables," to Sarah. And if she didn't finish her meal completely, Anna would have Sarah continue to sit by the table and not allow her to do anything else, and just educated her very strictly in a really old-fashioned way. Susan, on the other hand, wanted to let her own daughter have as much freedom as possible, which was her own way of raising her daughter. So, she wanted to follow a policy of not being too strict on her daughter. But Anna is so strict and educating Sarah in a strict way that Susan is struggling to stop her every time she tries to be strict to Sarah. Cameron also agrees with Susan's way of raising their own child, and has been warning Anna about how strict she was, but unfortunately, Anna does not listen to him at all and is doing whatever she wants. But since Cameron comes home late at night after work, Susan had to try and stop Anna's outrageous outbursts all by herself during the day and during dinner time. After that, both Cameron and Susan discussed the issue to Anna and made a promise that they would do their house chores separately. And since then, for a while, Anna did not really interfere with the married couple or their daughter. But since they did not live separately as they were living in the same house, Anna gradually began to break her promise and began over-interfering as usual, and everything had gone back to how it was in the beginning. Anna also began to act so selfishly that it was appalling to hear her throw away Susan's clothes without any permission just because the clothes looked old, or also threw away Sarah's favorite clothes, saying, "This doesn't look good on her." And then one day, an incident occurred. While Susan was shopping at the supermarket for groceries, Anna and Sarah were left alone for about 20 minutes. At this point, Sarah was now 4 years old, and she was playing in the living room, and Anna was there, so Susan let her guard down, thinking that everything would be fine while she went to the supermarket. Then, when Susan came home from shopping, she saw something that was surprising and unexpected. Anna was cutting Sarah's hair very short. To this, Susan was screaming at Anna, asking her, "What are you doing?" and immediately began questioning Anna. Then Anna replied, "A child this age plays outside more often, don't you think? And all the girls' hair grows long very quickly, so you might as well cut it short," and said this as if she had done the right thing. Sarah looked as if she was about to cry, as her hair was being cut really short. After that, Cameron came back home, and finding out about what had happened, Cameron and Anna had the biggest argument ever, and that is where my husband comes in, as he is being the mediator between the two of them lately. But what I think personally is that as long as there is already a huge gap between Cameron and Anna, there seems to be no room for improvement, even if my husband intervenes. Besides, no matter how much I listen to what had happened in a logical way, the cause is entirely Anna's fault. And yet, Anna does not seem to think that it is all her fault at all. So, I think that's another reason why Anna is having conflicts and arguments with Cameron and Susan. I said to my husband, "If you are going to hold the line between Anna and Cameron, I think you need to make sure that Anna is aware of what is wrong." But to this, he replied saying, "No, it's not my mom's fault. She's doing the right thing." And my husband was completely on Anna's side and agreeing with what she had done. Hearing what Sam had to say, I really questioned if he was the right mediator for Anna, Cameron, and Susan. I contacted Susan because I was concerned about whether Sam was functioning properly as a mediator, although there were days when he made frequent trips to their house and even stayed overnight. Then to this, Susan replied, "To be honest, the gap between us got even more worse since Sam got involved here." Oh, I knew it. According to Susan's story, my husband kept saying to Cameron, "You should understand Mom's point of view," and said things which was defending Anna, and to that, Anna would take advantage of what Sam was saying and say even more terrible things or act even more terrible towards Cameron and Susan. Since then, Cameron got tired of Anna and Sam and is completely unwilling to deal with them, and now Cameron and Susan is making preparations to leave the house. Hearing this story, I apologized to Susan about my husband. To that, Susan said, "Well, this would have happened sooner or later." and did not blame my husband for making things worse, even though it was his fault. That night, I arrived home after work and waited for my husband to come home so that I could teach him a lesson for what he had done. But then, Sam did something in which I had never imagined him to do.
I'm home.
Welcome home. I need to talk to you about something.
Oh, yeah, me too. It'll finish quick, though. Mother!
Huh? My husband had brought Anna into this house. Well, long time no see, Tia. Hello. I immediately grabbed my husband by the neck and questioned him as I whispered into his ears. What is the meaning of this, Sam? So why did you bring your mother, Anna, at our place without even asking me about it?
Because if she continues to live at that house, my mom would have no place for her and she would just suffocate.
How long are you planning to have Anna stay here at our place?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe until everything calms down, I guess.
I wanted to question my husband, Sam, further about what he meant when he said that. But more than that, I was just disappointed by how my husband was really overprotective about his own mother, or rather, how he acted like a mama's boy. When I was visiting Anna's house frequently, I didn't really notice it. But hearing Susan's stories and witnessing this kind of behavior made it clear to me that my husband is a mama's boy. But just because he's a mama's boy does not mean that he should have brought home Anna without even telling me anything about it. I decided that I needed to have a proper discussion with my husband, so I told him that we would discuss it further after our work the next day, and that we'd discuss this somewhere outside where Anna was not there. I even sent him the address of a coffee shop during my lunch break and told him to meet me after work. But my husband did not show up even after waiting for him about an hour. I even sent a text message to him, but he did not respond at all. So I had no choice but to go home. And when I went back home, my husband was at home already, happily eating dinner with his mother.
Oh, welcome home, Tia. My mom made some fried chicken and pasta tonight. They're really delicious, so you should hurry up and eat too, Tia.
I couldn't stop being irritated and frustrated at Sam. Then, while Anna was gone to the bathroom, I quickly began questioning my husband. We promised that we'd discuss about your mother today, right? So why didn't you come to the coffee shop?
Well, because my mom said that she was going to make fried chicken and pasta today. Besides, there's nothing much to discuss about my mother, is there?
Ha! There is so much to talk about. Like about what had happened to Cameron and Susan, and how long you're going to have Anna here. There was so much that I wanted to say to Sam, but the discussion was interrupted since Anna had returned back to her seat from the bathroom. And a few days later, when I tried to discuss it with my husband, he brushed it off, and it seemed like Anna would not be leaving either anytime soon. I was getting really irritated and frustrated by this point that I could no longer concentrate on my work or focus on my house chores. So I took a paid leave from work for one day. I felt restless at home, so I went shopping for the first time in a while, went to a coffee shop which I had been wanting to visit, and relaxed as much as I could. I went out in the morning and came home around 2 p.m. and no one was home and it was too early to cook dinner, so I began to lay down on the living room couch and watched the TV. Then suddenly, the doorbell rang. I wondered who it was, and when I opened the door, I saw the delivery man. And there were several huge cardboard boxes next to him. I thought that this was strange since neither my husband or I ordered anything that huge, So I looked at the invoice and saw that they were all addressed to Anna, and that the sender was my husband. And this was when I finally realized what was happening. My husband was going to completely take Anna in with him and live with her here. Once I began to think that and connect the dots, I felt all these affectionate feelings I had for my husband disappear. I have been trying to think of a way to make everyone happy, Anna, Sam, and Cameron, and Susan, but I had realized that there was no way that everyone can be happy. And I also learned how selfish and irredeemable my husband is, and how hopeless the situation was. That day, my husband was still hanging around and being with Anna most of the time, and came home after having dinner with her. Then, the next day, when I saw him at the dinner table, my husband said,
"Oh, by the way, my mom's packages will be arriving around today, so please take care of it."
To this, I replied back saying, "Oh, those packages. I sent them back." And my husband replied angrily saying,
"What? Why? What are you doing?"
And he sounded really furious. I was just too tired to even fight Sam, so I simply said, "I just don't approve of Anna living together in this house." And to that, my husband snapped.
"You've got to be kidding. If that's the case, then you better get out of here,"
saying really stupid things. I've already had enough and I didn't want to deal with my husband, so I said, "Well, I'm going back to my parents' house for today," and went to work. My husband came out from the living room and said,
"Don't you ever come home again,"
which didn't make any sense at all, but I ignored it. I really couldn't care less anymore about Sam and didn't even want to talk to him anymore. That day, I went back to my parents' house after work. I spent the next few days relaxing at my parents' house and at the same time making certain preparations. During that time, I received several phone calls and messages from my husband, but all he said was apologize to my mother and I, and other selfish, stupid things, so I ignored all of the text messages and blocked his calls. Then, when everything was ready, I went home for the first time in a long time. Seeing me back home, my husband said,
"Oh, so you came back because you're sorry,"
and grinned at me while he said this. "Yes, I'm sorry."
"Well then, I forgive you."
It was annoying to see my husband's idiotic, triumphant look on his face. Oh, please, don't get me wrong. What I was saying sorry for is that I was regretting my mistake of marrying a stupid person like you.
What?
I can't keep on doing this with you anymore, so let's just get a divorce. And saying that, I handed him the divorce papers.
Divorce? Are you being serious?
My husband was surprised, but when he realized that I was being dead serious, he said,
Fine. Have it your way. I'll divorce you.
And signed the divorce papers.
Get all your stuff together and get the hell out of here.
I couldn't really believe he was still saying these things like that. So, I showed my husband a document, as he was misunderstanding a lot.
What the hell is this?
It's the contract for this room. Oh, Sam, did you even forget that my parents are the ones who own this apartment room? Then I saw my husband's face turn completely pale. So, you and Anna should be the ones to leave this place, okay? I've decided to lend this room to another person, so you have until the end of the month to get out of here, okay?
Hey, wait a minute. Let's just discuss this properly.
Excuse me? What the hell are you saying? You're the one who's been refusing to discuss about everything I've been trying to discuss with you about all along, weren't you?
Yes, that's right, but...
Finally, at this point, it seems that my husband understood the importance of the situation. Anyways, just pack up your stuff and go back to Anna's house with her, okay?
No, I can't. Actually...
According to my husband's story, Anna's house had already been put up for sale. Cameron and Susan had already moved out of the house, so my husband and Anna came to the stupid conclusion that since Cameron and Susan left, Sam and Anna would just sell the house and use that money for Anna's retirement funds and live here instead. Hearing what had happened, I was just too stunned and speechless about how stupid Sam and Anna was being. Anywho, just get out quickly, okay? If you both won't leave, I'll call the police on you. My husband had a look of despair on his face, and he looked really hopeless. I ignored him and just packed my bags and left the house. After that, I heard that Anna and Sam had rented a reasonably priced apartment for them to live in together. But my ex-husband's salary alone did not allow the two of them to live in such a nice room, and the room was much downgraded from the one they had been living in. So Anna constantly complained about it to him, and because of that, my ex-husband was always irritated and frustrated. As for Cameron and Susan, they took this opportunity to move to the countryside, and they are now living comfortably in a place which is really rich in nature. And as for me, I am enjoying the life all on my own in an apartment for a single person. Recently, I also began to have a cat as my pet, and now I enjoy playing and hanging around with the cat at home every day after work, which helps me relax my mind too. Because of what had happened, I don't want to be in love for a while now, so I'm going to enjoy my life with a cat to the fullest. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.
My Mill left for Paris while her husband was bedridden. As soon as she was gone, he jumped out of the bed.
Did you think you're coming with us? I'm going with my family. I don't want a stranger tagging along with us. Besides, my husband is disabled and is nothing but a burden now. If I bring him with us, he would ruin the fun. You have to stay behind and take care of him by yourself. You used to be an angel in white, so you can't say no, can you? I brought you here for that purpose in the first place. So do your part. I was living with my in-laws to support my father-in-law, who was seriously injured in an accident. One day, I was in the kitchen doing my chores without a clue when my mother-in-law and my husband left the house with a large suitcase in their hands. They didn't care about my father-in-law's condition. They had no way of knowing what I was doing through every day in the house. I clenched my fist with tears of frustration. Shall we go too? I turned to face the sudden voice and was shocked to see the appearance of my father-in-law. 10 days later, this story took a turn of events. I'm Beth, 28 years old. I used to work as a nurse at a nearby hospital. My husband Alex, who used to frequent the hospital, took an interest in me, and we got married 6 months ago. He's 35 years old, 7 years older than me, and works as a civil servant. I used to work both day and night shifts depending on the emergency. This meant that I would have less time to spend with him. I stopped working for the time being and have been a full-time housewife. I never liked doing housework, but I gradually learned to be efficient for the sake of hardworking Alex. One night, he received a call from his mother. I could hear her frantic voice over the phone. "Oh my God, your dad got into a car accident. I don't know what to do. Oh dear, what should I do?" "Mom, calm down. Take a deep breath and tell me what happened." I was stunned to hear that my father-in-law Connor had been in an accident. He had suffered a serious head injury, lost consciousness, and was rushed by ambulance. Fortunately, he survived, but the doctor said that his brain was damaged and that he would need adequate care for the rest of his life.
This is terrible. Beth, will you move in with my parents? My mom wouldn't be able to do it all by herself.
It'll be a relief to have someone with experience. Of course, I'm concerned too. I would do anything to help such a great father-in-law. Thus, I willingly accepted Alex's request to move in with my in-laws. The next day, I started a new life living with the four of us. However, it was the beginning of hell for me. At first, my mother-in-law Elle welcomed me with smiles and open arms. Within 3 days, she gave up on housework, and I found myself doing everything. Beth, you are a full-time housewife, right? Then there's no reason for me to do the housework. Connor can't move or talk, so you look after him well. You were taking care of your patients before, so it's an easy task for you, right? She always took the easy way out and forced me to do things she didn't want to do. My in-laws' house was a big 5-bedroom mansion. It took me hours just to do the usual cleaning. On top of that, I had to do the laundry, cook meals, and take care of Connor. I was exhausted every day. Even so, I did everything without relying on Elle, but she never once thanked me. On the contrary, she enjoyed criticizing my efforts. Beth, you're not washing the clothes in the right way. Your cooking is tasteless without the proper seasoning. How can you call yourself a full-time housewife? I'm sorry, but I do everything by myself. Can you let me do it the way I want? No, you've only been a housewife for 6 months and already think you're all that. This is my house. You live here, so you obey me. I became increasingly fed up with her treating me like a servant and asked Alex for help. Hon, can't you help me out once in a while? I'm getting tired of having to deal with your mother's complaints day in and day out. He responded with a smirk. Well, she has the authority in this house, so you just need to follow her rule. I'm already tired from working, so no way I'm gonna help you with the chores. For someone who's been provided by me, you're asking too much. I'd rather you be grateful. He was completely on Elle's side. While enduring such a situation, I tried my best to help Connor recover every day. 6 months after we started living together, he got better to the point he could walk. How wonderful to see you walking. I praised his efforts in tears, partly because I had been rewarded for all the care I had given him. However, he was still unable to speak properly and remained mute in response to me. He was not able to eat well and still suffered from the after effects of the accident. Still, I held his hand tightly and kept telling him it's gonna be alright. The next morning, as I was preparing breakfast, I heard Elle and Alex talking in the living room. It's our first trip to Paris. I can't believe I get to enjoy my first trip abroad with you. I'm so excited. Me too. I'm honored to be able to take you there. Let's forget our stress and enjoy it to the fullest. Apparently, they had been planning the trip for several days without telling me and Connor. When I overheard that they would be leaving soon, I rushed to the living room. What on earth are you talking about? A trip to Paris? Oh, you heard us. We are going for a little getaway together. Do you have a problem? I guess not. I thought it was nice that they were taking a trip together, but what bothered me was that they kept it a secret from me. Isn't it too abrupt that you're leaving today? Why didn't you tell me in advance? I've always wanted to visit Paris. I'm hurt that you didn't include me in your planning. What are you talking about? You're staying at home, of course. Even if I told you, I knew you would stop us anyway, so I decided to tell you on the day. And I don't want to bring my disabled husband with me. I don't want the hassle for sure. You're a housewife who can't even do the job properly. Why don't you be useful at least for a change? I'm just glad to get away from Connor. Seeing my bewildered face, Elle smiled triumphantly and kept speaking ill of him. She never even tried to get involved with his care anyway. Mom, it's time to go. Oh yes, we are leaving now. We'll be away for about 10 days, so make sure you take care of the house. And take good care of Connor's dementia. I guess he's only going to get worse. I couldn't help but gasp at her insolent attitude toward her own husband. How could you say such a terrible thing? Shouldn't you wish for him to get better as a wife? Your husband is in such a condition, and you two are carelessly going away. What is wrong with you? Please cancel it now. I wanted to stop them from leaving with physical force if I could. What are you talking about? We've been looking forward to this trip, and you are trying to ruin our mood. It's been planned for a long time, and we've already booked the plane tickets. I even managed to get a paid leave amidst the busy schedule, so I'm going to make the most of these 10 days. I've been providing for you. You have no right to stop us. That's right. Connor isn't getting any better anyway. Nothing will change even if we stay with him. We are going to be late, so this conversation's over. Once again, take care of the house. The pressure from the two of them was indeed too much for me, and I was at a loss for words. They quickly ran out without saying bye to Connor, but leaving me with orders. Not only Elle, but also Alex had abandoned me. I wanted to start wailing on the spot, but I could not show my tears in front of Connor. I brought breakfast to him with a smile, as if nothing had happened. The moment I put the tray on the bedside table, "Are those two gone already?" To my surprise, he was able to talk. He even stood up from the bed without a problem. What are you doing? You can speak? They've already left. I replied in amazement. Then we are leaving too. He quickly got ready and walked out of the room. 10 days had passed since Elle and Alex left home. Suddenly, they were speechless. The house, which was supposed to be there, had been turned into a flat land. Both of them panicked at the shocking sight. Alex called me in frenzy. "Oh my God, what the hell happened? The house is gone." "Welcome back. We got rid of the house. Also, your father and I have decided to divorce you guys. Our attorney will call you later. They cursed me for this unexpected turn of events. There's no way you can do such a selfish thing. You're not even the owner of the house. She's right. You better explain yourself." I brushed it off saying, "I'll let Connor take over now." I handed the phone to him, who was standing nearby. "You two, listen to me very carefully." They were stunned to hear him speak in such a clear voice. What really happened was that he had regained his speech about 3 months after the car accident. He had kept it a secret from us all and had been receiving treatment and rehabilitation at another hospital run by his acquaintance. With his amazing recovery, he was able to speak as normal, and the after effects of the accident had disappeared. I had often witnessed him wandering about the house, but that was only a pretense of dementia. He was actually going to a hospital or to see his legal advisor. He was the only son of an affluent family and had been managing his vast wealth alone since his parents died when he was young. On the day Elle and Alex departed for Paris, I followed him to his attorney's office. He decided to move into a luxury senior apartment with nursing care, which was affiliated with the hospital I used to work at. As a token of appreciation, he offered me a sum of money for my immediate living expenses and a residence in one of his apartment buildings. After that, he sold his house to a real estate company. We both packed up and moved into our new homes. Connor had seen more than enough of Elle and Alex's nasty nature over the past few months. He was disgusted and demanded a divorce from Elle, and declared to cut ties with both of them. "How can you abandon your own son?" Alex was furious, but Connor calmly confessed. "Actually, you and I are not related by blood." Alex was speechless. Connor explained to him everything that had happened. Alex was brought to the family when he was still a newborn. Elle and Connor had kept it a secret all this time. When Connor's best friend suddenly passed away, leaving his pregnant wife without much means to live, Connor pitied and took her in. Their marriage was out of the norm, but they were happy living together as a family of 3. However, Elle and Alex took advantage of the fact that Connor had become bedridden. They started spending a lot of his money and even used it to pay for the trip as well. When he noticed it, he pretended to be physically disabled. He dared them to do as they pleased and waited for the right moment. Having grown sick of them, he decided to sell the mansion. He also donated most of his wealth to a foundation for orphaned children. He had already asked the attorney to take care of the necessary procedures. I was amazed by the fact that something on such a big scale had been done so quietly. He told them that the rest would be discussed through his attorney and handed me the phone. Elle and Alex flipped out and begged me to do something about it, but I had no sympathy for them. Too bad. I've been told I'm useless except as a caregiver. I hung up the phone on them. Connor and I received numerous calls from them every day. I picked up once and told them, "I've left everything in the hands of my lawyer, so don't call me again." I blocked their calls after that. Not only did they lose their place of residence, but they faced divorce proceedings. They were also shocked to find out that most of the property was donated to a foundation, and there would be no distribution of their inheritance. In addition, Alex was forced to resign after his employer found out that he had falsely requested family-paid leave when he went on the trip. After resigning, he's been working part-time while looking for a new job. Naturally, Elle has to work to make ends meet. She's been working as a cleaner from early in the morning until late at night. They are now living together in a small apartment. Meanwhile, after my divorce was finalized, I returned to the hospital where I used to work. I'm working as a nurse again. I visit Connor on a regular basis and enjoy our conversations. By the way, I've been wondering why you didn't tell me that you had recovered. You could have told me. Oh, that's because if I told you, I was afraid that those two would have found out too. My intention was to catch them off guard, you know. I'm sorry you had to deal with them for half a year. I sincerely apologize. No, I was so ready to leave them anyway. Rather, I thank you for giving me the opportunity. You always cared about me. I hope I have repaid your kindness. Thank you too. He treats me like a real daughter, and I will always love him. I am truly grateful to have met such a kind man, despite everything that happened. While I work hard as a nurse, I hope to find a wonderful man in my life soon.
My mill used me as a cash machine and forced me to divorce my husband. A few days later, he came crying to me.
Getting married or buying a home is a major turning point in one's life. It's supposed to be a joyous occasion and should change your life for the better. In my case, it was very different. I never dreamed something like that would happen to me. I'm Tracy, 35 years old. I started thinking about marrying my husband Steve about 2 years ago. We had been dating since high school. It was a tumultuous relationship of breaking up and getting back together. Before I knew it, I was already 33 years old. We had been together so long that we were like an old married couple. Although I didn't care much about marriage at that point, I felt dizzy to imagine starting a new relationship if we broke up. I was also afraid to miss the chance of getting married in the future. My parents were eager for me to marry Steve right away. I still contemplated and worried about losing my freedom though. I spanked Steve's butt and we finally got married the year before. We had already been living together, so the marriage didn't make a difference in our lifestyle. Only my parents seemed to be relieved that I got it done. They had been concerned and been asking me ever since my older sister got married. Are you on track? When will you get married? It seems that they were waiting for their grandchildren to come next. When I saw them talking excitedly about my marriage and grandchildren, I felt pleased to have made them happy. Steve, on the other hand, lost his father several years ago, so his mother, Penny, was his only family. She lived just a 5-minute drive from our house, but I hardly ever saw her. The reason was simple. I didn't like her much. My parents were rather mild-mannered and soft-spoken. Penny was somewhat sarcastic and harsh. When I went to visit her in high school, she used to say things like, "You are here again?" Once I overheard her telling Steve, "You have bad taste in women." I was quite hurt back then, but it never occurred to me to break up with him just because his mother didn't like me. I used to be in my friendliest manner in front of her to be liked. When it was her birthday, I worked hard at my part-time job and bought gifts for her. Regardless, her attitude never changed toward me, so I eventually stopped trying so hard and started to avoid seeing her instead. One day, I received a rare phone call from her. I didn't even have her number saved in my phone, so I didn't know who it was at first. When I answered, I heard her voice. "Hey Tracy, I asked Steve for your number. I want to talk to you about something. Can you come over today?" Although I hadn't spoken to her for a long time, she sounded to be in a good mood. Since I had been avoiding her, I felt a little relieved that she might have been happy about our marriage. "Okay, I will come after I finish my work." I was a freelance web designer. I used to work for a company, but I became independent after I made good connections. Thankfully, my income was more than twice as much as when I was an employee. I worked from home and was able to adjust my hours to suit my needs. However, I had to do my chores as well. Then can you come over in the evening? Penny asked me. I have to prepare dinner. I was about to refuse. Steve will probably be working late tonight, so I think he will have dinner outside. I wondered how she knew about it. Was he in frequent contact with her that I just didn't know about? I was surprised. Well, she was his mother and lived alone, so he must have concern about her. I convinced myself with my thoughts. Okay, I will be there around 6 p.m. I promised and hung up the phone. Steve had been coming home late from work. I thought that he might have been visiting her. After all, it's only the two of them in the family, so they must have needed to help each other. I was thinking positively about it. In the end, it was only wishful thinking on my part. A few hours later, "Hi Penny, it's been a while." I greeted her by handing her a box of sweets I bought in the neighborhood. She smiled and tossed it aside without thanking me. Her gesture gave me a bad feeling. I followed her into the living room, feeling a little annoyed. As soon as we sat down on the sofa, "Hey, are you building a house?" she asked me. "Oh, you heard from Steve. I want a bigger workspace, and if we are going to move, we might as well build a house. Nothing concrete has been decided yet." I was a little surprised that she already knew, but Steve was chatty, so he must have mentioned it to her. What she told me next was quite shocking though. "Oh, good. Then it's not too late. Can you make a room for me too? I'm getting old, you know. I feel lonely living alone." That's a bit sudden. It was totally out of the blue. I couldn't immediately give her an answer. "Why not? You're making a lot of money, and Steve too is working. If you could build a 2-story house with separate entrance, we won't see each other much. But if something happened, it's easier to help each other out. If you have a baby, I can babysit. You can continue working as usual." She had the point. If we did have a child in the future, it would have been nice to have someone to help me out. Then I would talk it over with Steve. "Oh, he always knows about it." About living together? I hadn't heard anything from him. "He has already given his approval. Besides, he says your savings will be enough to cover it." "What? No, he hasn't said anything to me. And why should we build a house with my saving? He has been working too." I couldn't help but raise my voice. I was flabbergasted by the unexpected turn of events and wondered how it came to be that way. "Because he hasn't been able to hold down a job for very long and hasn't saved a lot of money. You can pay at first, and I will pay you later when this house sells. I've already gotten a quote from a real estate agent." She was calm, as if she had already made up her mind. "You've already made arrangement to sell the house? Well, I understand what you've said so far. I will talk to Steve, so please wait. I'm leaving now." I left her house and groaned over the situation. Then I took out my phone to call Steve. There was a message from him saying, "I'm going out with my clients, so I don't need dinner." Penny was right. I thought she was closer than me to him. Penny just spoke to me about living together. I sent a reply, but it didn't get 2 ticks. In the end, he didn't return home until after midnight. I wanted to discuss the matter with him as soon as possible, but he was coming home late every day, and we couldn't find time to talk. I was freaking out that Penny was going to sell the house at any moment. I threatened him by saying that if he wasn't home on Sunday, we weren't going to build a new house. And the day came. Steve had been playing video games in his pajamas since morning. "Hey, what are we going to do about the house?" "Oh no, I'm already busted." He was so engrossed in the game that the conversation didn't go anywhere. Hey, are you listening to me? I've been thinking about the mortgage. From the beginning again. I was getting irritated. I didn't want him to complain later that he wasn't aware of anything, so I recorded the audio while I explained about the mortgage. So that's the type of mortgage we are going to get. Don't complain about it later, okay?
What the hell is this stupid game? Let's play a different one.
I was beginning to wonder if our marriage was a good idea. At that moment, Steve's cell phone got a notification ring.
I'm going to step out for a bit.
He got dressed and went out. I didn't think anything of it other than he was so carefree, but I should have suspected him at that point. I contemplated the house a lot and agreed with what Penny said. I tried to think positively that living together would have been more comfortable than I expected, and we decided to build a 2-story house in the end. In any case, I was very happy to have a new home of my own. The exterior was completed, and then the interior was done. The dream home was steadily becoming a reality. Steve left everything to me, saying he had no idea and was too busy. When I needed a signature from the head of the household, he signed quickly as directed without even trying to read the contents. Although I was annoyed by his aloofness, he left me alone to do whatever and however I wanted. From the start of construction to the completion, everything went smoothly as I had imagined. Finally, the day of the handover arrived. On that day, Steve and Penny went to the real estate agency to get the new keys. I had to work, so I headed straight there after meeting with the client. When I arrived, they were already waiting in the front. Whoa, it's finally done! Our own home! My ideal house, amazing! I'm so happy! I ran up to them in excitement. It's true, it's a big, beautiful house. It's magnificent. I don't know how to thank you. Thank you for everything until now, Tracy. Penny happily mentioned. Until now? Do you mean the procedures? It was a lot of stress, but when I saw this house, all that was blown away. I exclaimed.
Well, I'm sorry, but can you also blow away with the feelings?
Excuse me? I just stood there not understanding what he meant. Hello? A woman came out of the car.
She is the daughter of the president of my work. I want to marry her. Please divorce me.
He said it like he was just canceling a date with me. I was at a loss for words when Penny spoke. So that's that. You're nothing compared to the boss's daughter. He's going to get a promotion in the company, so you should understand and back off. Oh, but the mortgage on the house is in your name, right? I will thank you for that. No way, you're kidding. So you knew it too, Penny? You two were in on it together. That's terrible. You've been home late. Was it because you were seeing this woman? How dare you? I was so confused by what was going on that I just blurted out whatever came to mind. The woman was outrageous too. It is what it is. I'm sorry. How could she take someone's husband and act nonchalantly? I thought someone would tell me it was a joke, but no one did. I eventually realized that everyone was dead serious, and my blood drained from my face. I was in tears of defeat, unable to step foot inside my new home, and left the place hearing their laughter. I spent 3 days and 3 nights crying, but my parents helped me regain my strength. I eventually went back to work and kept myself busy tackling the work that had piled up. Fortunately, I didn't have time to ponder about the calamity, but when it popped even a second into my mind, I felt great distress. I wasn't just going to cry myself to sleep. I didn't plan to forgive them so easily. Then I was offered a new project with the biggest paycheck ever. It was an opportunity for a fresh start. I fell behind Steve, who moved his stuff out first, but I moved into a beautiful luxury apartment. When my move was done and settled, I decided to start my revenge against him. Of course, I wanted to make Penny sorry too. A few days later, I met up with him at the coffee shop and told him that I wanted to settle everything and that I would sign the divorce papers. So, I want you to sign these divorce papers and also the property division and all that. Sign here and here. He signed as he was told without checking anything. When he was done, "Thank you. Please take care of the rest of the loan," I cheerfully mentioned.
What are you talking about? The mortgage on that house is in your name, right?
He smirked. "Don't you remember this?" I played a recording of me suggesting to get a joint loan while he was playing a game.
What's this? I don't remember it. What's a joint loan?
Even if he didn't remember, it was clearly on the recording. Besides, you signed the papers yourself. A joint loan is an agreement between a husband and a wife that they will pay the mortgage together. The documents that he signed without reading them also contain an application for the loan.
Am I supposed to pay for half of the loan? That's impossible.
I couldn't stand his attitude to still try to escape after all he had done. "I'm sorry to hear that. You signed the papers just now, didn't you?" After what happened, I consulted with the bank I borrowed from and my lawyer. We consolidated the loan into one in your name, since you will continue to live in the house. You're going to have to pay for everything.
What are you talking about? You can't do.
I could do it. My parents were out of the world furious. You know my father was a banker, right? His ex-subordinates hold high positions now. One of them took care of the loan stuff for me. He was the one who advised me on the joint loan. So I told him everything that had happened, and he told me how to transfer the mortgage to you. Steve's face grew paler by the second.
Wait, you didn't. Actually, I tried living with the boss's daughter, but things didn't work out. She's back at her parents' house right now. The president is angry with me. He said he was going to cancel my promotion. I'm not getting a raise, and if we don't reconcile, I won't be able to stay at the company.
I could care less. I was betrayed by him in front of me, a guy I had been with for years. Suck it up. You will get the loan documents in the mail later. You can take care of the rest. It's none of my business now.
Honey, don't say that. Help me.
He started crying in the cafe, and people around him were staring at him. He was about to say something, but I didn't want to hear anything else. I hoped he would be punished for treating me like a cash machine. After I walked a few steps away from the table, I realized that I forgot to leave money for the coffee and went back.
It's just a coffee. I will pay for it,
Steve mumbled. After all the talk about hundreds of thousands of dollars, it may not be a big deal. I just don't want to owe you even a penny. Tears welled up in his eyes again. A grown man crying in a coffee shop was a hideous sight. I quietly put the $10 bill on the table and left. A few months later, the house is up for sale. My father has been in contact with his ex-subordinate. I've heard that Steve fell behind on the payments after paying a certain amount from the sale of Penny's house. He resigned from his job, so I assume that the woman dumped him. I wonder what he's going to do with the rest of the loan until he finds a buyer. He has been unable to find a job and currently have no income, so he's living in a small apartment with Penny. She's working as a cleaner to make ends meet. As for me, my work is going well, and I'm busy but fulfilled every day. I'm increasingly being entrusted with web designers for major companies. I recently worked on a corporate website. The irony was that it was a page for a major real estate company's family home campaign. In any case, it is a joy to see my parents happy when they see what I have created. As my network of business contacts expands, I've met a guy who catches my attention. He is a hard-working competitor. I'm 35 years old now. I can start over however I want. It's up to the person to decide where life starts to get interesting.
My mother-in-law bullies me, and my husband is always on her side. They thought they could make me obey, but I say goodbye to them.
When I come home from shopping, my husband, Taylor, and his mother, Rose, both looks at me with frowns on their faces.
Hey, sit down. I need to talk to you about something. You're being terrible, aren't you? I really can't believe that you treated my mother so badly.
Excuse me? My name is Melanie, and I am 27 years old, and I am a housewife. My husband, Taylor, and I are newlyweds and started living together this spring. When we got married together, Taylor had asked me to focus on being a housewife. In the beginning, our newly wedded life was a lot of fun. I would make breakfast and lunch for my husband, do laundry and the cleaning around the house, and after a bit of relaxing around the living room, I would go grocery shopping to prepare and begin cooking dinner. My husband would happily eat what I had cooked, and we were both living happily together. But unfortunately, such happy lifestyle for both of us ended after only a few months. A few months after we got married, my father-in-law, Jim, passed away due to illness. My husband said that since he was an only child, he felt sorry for his own mother, Rose, to be left all alone. So, because of that, he began to insist that he wanted for us to live together with Rose. To be honest, I was against the idea of moving in with Rose. The reason for that was because Rose did not seem to like me very much from the beginning. When I first greeted her, as it was decided that Taylor and I would get married, she said, "Well, if Taylor wants to get married, I can't really help it," and sounded as if she was completely against our marriage. So that was why I did not think that living together with Rose would work so well. When I discussed this with my husband, he replied to me saying,
"Oh, don't worry. Mom may look unfriendly at first, but she's actually really kind."
The thoughts I had in my mind were changed by the fact that my husband said that without any hesitation and very confidently. So, in the end, I agreed to live with Rose as Taylor was insisting for it strongly. The move-in with Rose started with Taylor and I moving into her house because it was much more spacious. "Oh, you two have come a long way."
Mom, please do take care of us well from now on.
"We will both be in your care." "Oh, come on, there's no need for any more formal greetings like that, so just come on in." Rose greeted us and welcomed us into the house with a kind smile. After we finished unpacking, Rose was very kind to us while we were having tea together in the living room.
You know what? I want to eat Mom's fried chicken for the first time in a while.
"Oh, really? Well then, let's have the fried chicken today. I want to teach Melanie my special fried chicken recipe, so please help me make it, Melanie." "All right, I will." "Well, my husband may be right." Rose was very kind and not scary at all as I thought she would be. Maybe I was a little nervous, or maybe I was a little stiff when I greeted Rose for the wedding, because Taylor is her only son after all. Maybe we all would have a nice, good time to live together like this without any problems. Or so I thought. Because a problem happened right after that. It happened in the kitchen afterwards when we started to cook for the fried chicken. As soon as it was just Rose and I alone together, she suddenly changed her attitude completely. Her smile disappeared, and she began to glare at me very coldly, just as she had done when I first greeted her. "Are you sure you can cook?" Yes, I can do a little bit of everything." "Then, can you cut the chicken for me?" Okay, I will. Oh, no, no, no. You can't do it like that. What? Oh, that's enough. Just get the seasonings out. Where are the seasonings? Ugh! If it goes on like this, it will take us a really long time to finish making the fried chicken. Are you sure that you're really a housewife? Seeing you like that, I really wonder if Taylor gets to even eat properly or not. And like this, Rose would say such unreasonable and mean things to me. For the most part, even the way on how I cut the chicken was normal, and Rose didn't even tell me what exactly was wrong with how I cut them. Besides, since I just came to live in her house today, it's definitely obvious that I couldn't really know where the seasonings are placed. My husband always says what I cook tastes good, and I feed him nutritiously balanced meals. So, why would Rose even say such things like that to me? When Rose finished cooking and put the food on the table, she acted as if she was a completely different person. Oh, Taylor, honey, dinner is ready.
Ooh, the fried chicken looks so delicious.
Since Melanie had helped me, we were able to make them very quickly. Huh? Yes, that's right. Rose acted as if she was being a very good mother-in-law to me in front of my husband. Well, Rose's strategy seemed to work, and my husband mistakenly thought that Rose and I were getting along very well. But during the daytime, when my husband was out working, Rose began to torment me as much as she could. Oh, Melanie, you haven't cleaned up at all. You need to do the top of this bookshelf too. But it's a little too high up there for me to reach and clean. Don't make any stupid excuses like that. We have a ladder, so make use of that. Like this, Rose tries to get me to clean the top of the bookshelf, which even a man would find it quite high to reach. If it were me, I would have to get on the stepladder and stand on tiptoes to just barely reach it. I'm really sorry, I can't. I know for sure that I'll get hurt. Ah! You really can't do anything, huh? I feel sorry for Taylor for having a useless wife like you, Melanie. Aren't you ashamed that you can't even do any house chores properly at all, even though you're Taylor's housewife? These daily sarcastic comments and pointless lectures that Rose would give me was just too much. One day, I just got so fed up with it that I talked to my husband about it. Hey, I'm having a hard time with Rose, you know. Would you talk to your mother about it?
What? But you always seem to get along with her very well.
Rose is just acting when she's around you. When it's just the two of us during the day, especially when you're gone, she would always say something terrible to me.
Oh, is that so?
Huh? Hey, are you even listening to me properly?
What? I'm just tired from work. First of all, aren't you being just too self-conscious about this whole thing?
Excuse me?
I told you that at first, my mom does look a little unfriendly. So, even when mom's just acting normal, she just sounds angry to you. Isn't that what's happening?
No way. But if you hear what Rose says some things to me, you can clearly see that she's verbally abusing me.
Well, it's all about how you take it, isn't it? I'm definitely sure that my mom is saying everything with love.
How could Taylor even interpret it that way? I unconsciously knew this, but it seems like my husband was a mama's boy. That's why he blindly trusts his own mother without ever questioning about her. If Taylor is being like this, then I can no longer rely on him. Which is why I have to protect myself. Even after that, Rose continued to bully me as usual. Rose made me do all the house chores while she just sat on the living room sofa and watched the TV. She would then complain with the lunch I made, and there were times where she would also throw it in the trash. When Rose gets bored of watching the TV, she starts complaining about how I did the house chores and even begins to deny my personality. The only time I feel safe is when I go shopping at the supermarket for groceries by myself. But when it takes more than 20 minutes to do my grocery shopping, Rose would accuse me by saying, "You're late. You must be cheating on Taylor, aren't you?" and say such nonsense. And like this, I get to be free from Rose for only a few minutes. I've only been married for less than a year, and yet this is the situation. Is it possible that this situation will continue until Rose is gone for good? I really didn't want to continue living miserably like this. The words divorce were floating around in my head. Then one day, on the weekend, when I come home from shopping, my husband Taylor and his mother Rose both looks at me with frowns on their faces.
Hey, sit down. I need to talk to you about something. You're being terrible, aren't you? I really can't believe that you treated my mother so badly.
Excuse me? I'm treating Rose badly? When it's the other way around? What do you mean?
I heard everything from my mom, you know. She says that she's being harassed by you.
Huh?
I heard that you force all the house chores onto her, ignore her when she tries to talk to you, and even throw her lunch that she made for you in the trash.
Excuse me?
I didn't know that you were such a horrible, lousy woman.
Now wait a minute. I never did any of that.
Are you saying that my mom is lying then?
I look at Rose and I see her grinning. Oh, she really did it this time. Rose was spouting lies and my husband is totally believing everything that she tells him.
Mom says that she doesn't want to see you for a while. So go back home to where your parents are and reflect on your own actions.
I was just fed up. To Rose, who harasses me in a really immature way, and to my husband, who is a mama's boy and who can't see through who Rose really was. I understand. I'll go back home to my parents' place. I pretended to feel bad and quietly packed up my belongings. Meanwhile, Rose was grinning at me and my husband, perhaps mistakenly thinking he was in a superior position, was looking very proud at what he was doing. I left their house, vowing that I would revenge them for what they had done to me. My parents were surprised when I returned with a large luggage, but they were so furious when I explained the situation. They told me to get rid of those people as soon as possible. I got to stretch my wings a little at my parents' house. I was able to have fun cooking meals with my mother without any complaints. I wondered how long it has been since I was able to sit on the couch and watch TV. After a few days of relaxing and recovering both mentally and physically, I went to a lawyer's office to prepare for my divorce. I also did some job hunting and had a few interviews with companies. I found a job sooner than I had expected, so now it was time for me to look for a place to live. And just like that, I was able to find a room that met my requirements. I felt as if my luck was telling me to divorce my husband, and everything was going smoothly. About 2 weeks after I was kicked out from Rose's house, I received a phone call from my husband.
Have you calmed down now?
Yes.
Then if so, you may come back here now.
So I went back to Rose's house. Then I would see both my husband and Rose with huge grins on their faces who were waiting for me.
Did you reflect back on your own actions properly?
Yes.
Then apologize to my mom. If you do that, then you may live in this house again.
No, thank you.
What?
I have been reflecting back on my lack of decisiveness. What the hell are you talking about? Thank you for everything you have done to me until now. Saying that, I put the divorce papers on the table.
Huh? Divorce?
Melanie, what is the meaning of this? I can't live with you two anymore. So let's just get a divorce, please.
You must be kidding me, right?
No, I'm being serious.
No way.
My husband was shocked, but when he realized that I was being very serious, he got really angry and emotional.
Oh, really? Fine, do what you want. But what you did to my mom is unforgivable. Mom has suffered emotional distress because of you. I'm gonna get the certificate of diagnosis and sue you with it.
That's right. You are such a menace for threatening us with divorce. Oh, I don't mind what you do, but if you do that, aren't you the one who's going to be in trouble for the false diagnosis or something like that?
What the hell do you mean?
And at this point, I called for my lawyer, who had been waiting in the car outside.
What? A lawyer?
Everything what Rose is saying is a lie.
Excuse me?
The lawyer then played the audio data that I had given him. On it were recorded audios of Rose's verbal abuse towards me.
What? This is
just a part of many abusings I received from your mother. And now, hearing this, do you still believe what your mother says?
No way. There's no way that my mom would...
Oh, my... Rose was panicking because the truth came into light. Oh, Rose, I heard that you told the neighbors that you were being harassed by me. No, that's... What you did was defamation. So, I'm going to sue you. What? Oh no!
Mom is a housewife, so she doesn't have that kind of money.
Then, as her son, why don't you pay for her instead? Anyways, divorce and compensation is a must. Saying this, I left my husband and Rose right then and there. My husband and Rose were both unable to move from the spot with their faces being very pale. After that, things went smoothly. Taylor, not wanting to cause any more trouble, agreed to the divorce, and he also paid the compensation for Rose on her behalf. The neighbors no longer took Rose seriously after they all found out the truth of what had actually happened. And Taylor was also disgusted with Rose because of this incident, and she's now living all alone on her own with no one on her side. Well, Rose got what she deserved. And as for Taylor, I had an acquaintance at Taylor's office where he worked at, so I reported the whole story to that acquaintance. My ex-husband was labeled as a mama's boy who was abandoned by his own wife because of being a mama's boy, and people in the company laughed at him behind his back, which made him feel really small. When Taylor tries to leave on the dot, he is teased by people who says things like, "Aw, are you leaving already because you want to see your mommy?" Well, I'm sure that kind of teasing will eventually stop, but I'm sure it will make Taylor feel so small, as he had a huge pride in himself. Meanwhile, I am spending my days living in a new room, working at a new job, and with a fresh mind. The room is really comfortable, and the job is challenging. I'm not really interested to be in a relationship for a while, so I'm going to spend my money and time on my hobbies while enjoying the single life. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.